There has been a myriad of adaptations of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Hound of the Baskervilles over the years. This was the fourth. A spoof of Holmes and Watson starring Peter Cook and Dudley Moore would have been a safe bet for cinema goers in 1978, as the double act have played the same characters on the TV show Goodbye Again 10 years beforehand.
Undoubtedly, one of the most mysterious episodes during the course of my acquaintance with Sherlock Holmes was the curious case of the one-legged dog. For the first time I can recall, Holmes seemed baffled, and with some difficulty I persuaded him to take a few days off in the country. Travelling light with a violin and a crate of cocaine, we camped comfortably by the banks of the River Strod, a pleasant little tributary of the Strittle. The country air, however, did very little to calm the restless mind of my eminent companion. I have never seen the greatest thinking mechanism in the history of Europe so absorbed in the icily calm process of ruthless mental analysis.
Who did it? Who bloody did it? Is there Watson, you great, boring, fat toad of a doctor? Do something!
The surprise in this production is that Paul Morrissey was enlisted to co-write and direct. Morrissey is an American filmmaker best known for his work with Andy Warhol, for whom he directed Flesh for Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula.
The Hound of the Baskervilles film was proposed to me by the English producer Andrew Brownsburg. I made it on the condition that they let me do what I want and do it my own way, with whatever way I wanted, without a script. So I had this system of making films up as the camera was running, more or less, and telling the actors what to say, or making up the dialogue and the story each morning. They suggested Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. As soon as I heard it, I thought, well, yes, that's a good idea. However, before we got a script going, there was one condition only, that Peter wanted to write one section, and Dudley wanted to write other sections, and I could write a third section. I would have preferred to have written the whole thing, but since I had taken these chances with other films of making films based on just off the top of my head, and I thought, well, they're very gifted performers and they came up with wonderful material when they did their shows. They should be great asset.
Having no experience in directing comedy before, he was an unusual pick to say the least.
I have some very disappointing news for you, ladies. Apparently, Sherlock Holmes is in Budapest.
This is dreadful coffee, Watson.
And now he's back. Oh, good of you to come, Holmes. You remember these three nuns from Monte Carlo? Their holy relic was stolen.
Oh, the case of the engineer's thumb, was it?
No.
The athlete's foot?
No, St. Perro's elbow.
Oh, elbows, feet, thumbs. What with all these cases, I'll never get any rest.
The result is widely considered to be an utter disaster. The plot, which follows Conan Doyle's book, adds some massive tangents, which includes an exorcism, some wildly urinating chihuahuas, and Sherlock Holmes' mother, also played by Dudley Moore.
You can have anything you like from me, my diamond.
The one thing the film doesn't seem to have is any consistency.
I said, it'll look like we're copying the Monty Python, which is embarrassing because they're a copy of you, in a way. And they agreed. They didn't feel comfortable trying to compete with Monty Python. Anyway, I said, there's another direction we can go. Instead of collegiate humor, we could go in the direction of this music hall humor, which really was epitomized by the Carry On series.
This is personal bias here and not film theory, but I hate the Carry On films. Sure, Carry On Screaming's pretty funny and Carry On Cleo has its moments too, but these are the exceptions, not the rule. I have little taste for innuendo and would give it the mantle of lowest form of wit long before sarcasm got to it. The Carry-Ons started strong with Carry On Sergeant, but deteriorated with every subsequent instalment until it got to Carry On Emmanuel, in which the leering at boobs could no longer be passed off as a joke. The Carry On films outstayed their welcome for about 10 years, and I'm sad to say, so did Hammer Horror. I'm sad to say that because I actually like those films much more. But they did linger around in a time which wasn't made for them, like a relative that refuses to die.
Don't bring up father, Mother.
Oh, why not? Why not? You drove him to his death. Oh, my God, all that snooping into other people's business. Detecting. Pesticide. My own son, guilty of pesticide.
It's patricide, Mother.
Oh, so you admit it then, do you? Never change.
Peter Cook and Dudley Moore were not from that school of comedy. Peter was sharp and cynical. Dudley was a clown and lovable. Peter was well-read. Dudley was musical. What they weren't was anything like the Carry On films. So as a result, the more Carry On-like the scenes are, the more awkward they play out.
You show this gentleman your sausage and mash, Daphne.
I rather like the last one, actually.
No, you wait till you hear this. Every word that begin with an S or an M, she substitutes sausage or mash. Go on, Daphne, give it to her.
Dear Holmes, sausage. Sausage investigation, sausage. Sausage investigation.
Oh, wait a moment. There's something I got to add at the end. How would this go? Barrymore has a very peculiar sister. Barrymore, Alpha Salpha Belfry Pelficulia Sylvestra. Barrymore has a very normal brother. Barrymore has a very peculiar sausage.
I sincerely hope that was one of the scenes that Paul Morrissey wrote by himself, as its standards are far below what I've come to expect from Cook and Moore. Any big fan of the double act might also note that the best lines are recycled from Pete and Dud's early work.
Now then, ladies.
Monsieur Holmes, who do you think may have perpetrated this awful crime?
Well, to put it very simply, in layman's terms, easily understandable to nuns, I believe this to be the work of thieves. The whole pattern is very reminiscent of past robberies where I have found thieves to be involved. The telltale loss of property, the snatching away of substances, it all points to, thieves.
Who do you think may have perpetrated this awful crime?
We believe this to be the work of thieves. And I'll tell you why. The whole pattern is extremely reminiscent of past robberies where we have found thieves to be involved. The telltale loss of property, the snatching away of the money substances, it all points to thieves.
Thieves. So you feel that thieves are responsible?
Good heavens, no. I feel that thieves are totally irresponsible.
But how can you find such a person?
Well, I'm using a wonderful new system, not even known to Scotland Yard. I call it Picture Fit.
Oh, yes. That's when you piece together the face of the criminal, isn't it?
Alas, no. I can only piece together the appearance of the face of the criminal. I cannot piece together the actual face. I wish I could, because, of course, once you've captured the criminal face, the other criminal parts are not hard to find. The criminal body being situated directly beneath the criminal face, joined, of course, by the criminal neck.
But we are, however, using the wonderful detection equipment known as the identikit. Are you familiar with the identikit?
Isn't it where you piece together the face of the criminal, is it right?
Not entirely, no. We're only able to piece together the appearance of the face of the criminal. We can't actually piece the face itself together. I wish we could, of course, because once you've captured the criminal face, the other criminal parts aren't hard to find. The criminal body is situated directly below the criminal face, joined, of course, by the ghastly, scrawny, and altogether obnoxious criminal neck.
Come in! Mr. Spigot, you are applying, are you not, for the job on the moors as a runner?
Right.
You are auditioning, are you not, for the part of Tarzan?
Right.
I've got nothing against your right leg. The trouble is, neither have you.
Well, I've got nothing against your right leg. The trouble is, neither of you.
The mother character has long been a staple of Dudley Moore's repertoire, and later appeared again in Derek and Clive Get the Horn.
Yes, oh, hello, darling.
Hello, Mum. How are you?
I'm awfully well, thank you. Yes, come on in now. Come out the cold.
Thank you.
Yes, now, let's take your coat off. Oh, dear.
Mummy.
Since I've had the hysterectomy, you know, I feel a new woman, but I've got all this hair. It's all coming out
Mummy,
in handfuls. She said to me, Mrs. Holmes, she said, I hear you've been talking about my choice again. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean, your choice? She said about her having a baby and not being married. I said, Mrs. Brett, I said, excuse me, I said, I don't talk about your choice. I said, I've got better things to do with my time.
The Mrs. Holmes scenes are by far the funniest part of the movie. But one of the many problems is the comedy is always interrupted by this very heavy-handed score.
Daddy came to me at the bottom of the bed. He said to me, come, Ada. Come. He said, you're tired. Come with me. Enough's enough. I said, no, my darling. I said, no. I've got to wait here on this earth.
The music was written and performed by Dudley Moore himself, who knows how to write a good tune, but the score for this film seems like it's trying to compensate for the lack of laughs, and as a result is really quite irritating. It only really clicked for me during the final chase sequence.
The Hound! The Hound is loose! It's going to Sir Henry's goose! For Sir Henry's going to be eaten! The Hound is after him! My God, it's after him! The Hound! The Hound! The Hound is after Sir Henry! Sir Henry is in danger! Sir Henry, run for your life! Your life! Stop, Hound! Stop, or I'll shoot! Hold your fire, Watson!
Another problem I have, and this is a big one, Paul Morrissey has no idea how to stage a comedic scene, particularly when it's physical comedy.
Monsieur le Docteur Watson, what is keeping Monsieur Holmes so long?
Oh, reassure yourselves, sisters. Your holy relic will be with you momentarily.
Prime example, the opening shot of the movie. Watson is ironing his stained underpants in front of some French nuns. But could you tell what was going on with those bloomers? No, because the camera was too close and the director was more interested in a zoom shot than a laugh.
Stop there, Will. Move there. Stop down, sir. Did he, Will? Ow! Ow! And me only married a month, boy.
Spike Milligan manages to save his cameo from being completely laugh-free by being a genius. But imagine how much funnier that crotch shot would have been if it was filmed at an angle where you could see the vehicle make contact, and the car was travelling at more than 2 miles an hour.
I don't understand. It's the code of opposites, sir. Everything she say is the reverse of what she means. Good morning, sir, is...
Bad night, madam.
That's it. You give this a whirl, Glynis.
Not on your life.
Ah, that's a good girl. Dear Holmes, stop.
Hurried Holmes, start. Stopped investigations, start. Restopping investigations yesterday, start. Not working, not non-stop, start.
And then there's this scene where the woman in the post office creates the code of opposites. Did you notice she took her glasses out and put them on the back of her head? You know, like everything is backwards. Yeah, I didn't notice it the first time either. I couldn't tell they were glasses, so I just thought it was a hairband.
I'm very suspicious of people who make films who think up wonderful things on the set and everybody has a wonderful time and all the actors improvise lines and then it's all put together and it doesn't make any sense, like What's New Pussycat, which is one of my least favourite films of all time. Everybody obviously had a ball making it, but it was rather harder to enjoy it if you paid your 7 and 6 and snuck in the back to see it.
Hound of the Baskervilles was such a disaster at the UK box office that it was re-edited for the US release. Trimmed of a full 10 minutes of screen time, the remaining scenes were reordered, and a large amount of Dudley Moore's score was replaced with something a little easier on the ear. Yet somehow they managed to make the film worse.
Shut up! Be quiet!
For some reason they edited down the scenes with Mrs. Holmes, but left this 2-minute non sequitur that amounts to absolutely nothing.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Mr. Barrymore.
Lovely day, isn't it?
I've never seen fog this bad in all my life. It must be absolutely awful outside. I won't be able to investigate anything.
Oh, it's as clear as the bell outside.
What do you mean?
Well, you know what they say. Fog on the moors, clear skies indoors. Fog in the house, sun's out for field mouse.
I've never heard that before. Nor have I.
See for yourself.
Oh, it is a lovely morning. You'll be able to look for your clothes after all.
Oh, yes, beautiful as that.
One thing I actually quite like about the film is that the narrative is composed of sketches. A lot like the Python films that they're apparently trying hard not to emulate. So wild detours should be expected in any story which is constructed like a patchwork quilt. The trouble is, you notice these things much more when they fail to amuse. Someone once said to me, you only look at a picture's frame when you're not enjoying the art.
What is it?
It's an interesting piece of work, painted by the late Sir Charles in the last days of his life. It is, of course, a self-portrait.
What, Charles?
A bowl of geraniums, I'd say.
I'll give you 2 shillings.
I've been a fan of Peter Cook and Dudley Moore ever since my grandmother gave me this cassette tape, which was given away with PG Tips tea as a promotion for the charity Comic Relief. I instantly fell in love with a double act I still call my favourite. And since then I've tried to consume everything in which they've both appeared, going to great lengths to get hold of rare records and hard to find TV shows. Sadly, a lot of the double act's best work was wiped, as the BBC had no archiving policy till 1978, the same year this movie was released. So we have to enjoy what we got of the two of them, as when they spark off each other, it's almost magical. Which is probably why Hound of the Baskervilles is not a good book for them to adapt in the first place. I'm aware it's often ranked number 1 when they have these votes to find the fans' favourite Sherlock Holmes book, but Holmes and Watson don't spend much time together in the story. Sherlock sends Watson to Baskerville Hall by himself, which means Peter and Dudley will not be sharing the screen for large amounts of the story, which is where the film falls down the hardest.
It was at that moment that something struck me.
I don't understand why they didn't make something in the same vein as that sketch from Goodbye Again. Then I remembered, oh yeah, Paul Morrissey.
When the film was finished, I saw it, I thought, well, it is ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. We wanted it to be absurd. We wanted it to be ridiculous. We've succeeded in that, I suppose.
The film is absurd and ridiculous, but it isn't much fun. I've never seen any other Paul Morrissey films. They could all be fantastic, but this one is not. But I don't hate it. Had Stanley Donen directed it, like he did Bedazzled, it could well be a comedy classic now. But alas, he did not. This film was released on DVD, if you should wish to see it, but buyer beware that the version accessed through the main menu of this edition is the re-edited American cut, which has been reframed into pan-scan. The British edit can be found on the extra features. If you're going to watch a version, it should really be that one. If you want an HD copy of the British print, it's available on Blu-ray in America, but it's region locked, so it won't play on British machines. At the time of recording, it's currently available on YouTube for free, so save your money.
Now is the time to say goodbye, goodbye.
I'm Scott Kingsnorth, and I'm making a movie.